I knew my son's fiancée was a liar the moment she sat down. The name she gave was wrong. The smile was wrong. And the way she looked at me, like I was just some old man she had to charm, that was the biggest mistake she ever made. Because I knew exactly who she was, and she had no idea who I was. If this story moves you, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. March 15, 2024, 7:58 in the evening, 2 minutes early. I arrived at the steakhouse in downtown Phoenix because that's what you do when your son tells you he's engaged. You show up early. You wear a clean shirt. You pretend you're not nervous. Derek was already at the table when I walked in. He stood up and waved like a kid on Christmas morning. He was 28 years old, a software engineer with a good head on his shoulders. But right then, he looked like he was 14 and had just won a trophy. "Dad, you're gonna love her," he said. "She's incredible." I sat down across from him and ordered a glass of water. I'd heard about Jessica for 3 months. How she was smart and beautiful and funny. How she understood him in ways no one else ever had. Derek was a trusting kid, always had been. After his mother died, he'd clutched onto anyone who showed him kindness, like a drowning man grabbing a rope. I told myself this time would be different. Then she walked in. The hostess led her to the table, and I saw her face for the first time in 5 years. The same high cheekbones, the same practiced smile, the same calculating eyes that swept the room before they landed on any person. She was 45 now, not 40, but she'd aged well. Expensive haircut, tailored black dress, diamond stud earrings that probably weren't real. She didn't recognize me. I'd lost 60 pounds since she last saw me. The stress of the business collapse and the chemo, my late wife's, not mine, had turned my hair from salt and pepper to pure white. I wore glasses now. I walked with a slight limp from the hip replacement 2 years ago. I looked like a completely different man. "Dad, this is Jessica," Derek said, beaming. She extended her hand. Her grip was firm, practiced. "Frank, I've heard so much about you. All good, I hope," I said. My voice was steady. My face was a mask. "Only the best," she said, and her smile was so warm, so genuine, that I almost believed her. Almost. The dinner was torture. She talked about her work in nonprofit fundraising. She talked about how much she loved Arizona. She told a charming story about a rescue dog she'd adopted. Derek hung on every word. He held her hand across the table. He looked at her like she was the answer to every prayer he'd ever whispered. I watched her eat her steak, medium rare, arugula, salad on the side, a glass of Cabernet that she sipped slowly, deliberately, like she was performing for an audience. And I remembered. 5 years ago, my business partner, Mark Sullivan, had disappeared. We'd run a small manufacturing company together for 15 years. Good years, profitable years. Then his wife, Elena, had started spending. Vacations to Europe, a new Mercedes every 6 months, a second home in Sedona that she insisted on decorating with $20,000 furniture. I'd met Elena 6 times at company events. She was charming then too, warm and funny and full of ideas about charitable causes. Mark had been head over heels. He'd signed over joint access to every account. He'd given her power of attorney for the business. Then $90,000 went missing. Then another 60. Then the bank called about a line of credit I didn't approve. Mark confessed to me in his office 3 weeks before he disappeared. His face was gray. His hands were shaking. "She's cleaned us out, Frank. Every account. Every reserve. Our personal. The business. Everything." He'd found a box of forged documents in her closet. Fake IDs. Bank statements under different names. A burner phone with messages from 3 separate men, each calling her by a different name. "Don't confront her," he'd said. "She'll destroy you too." The next week, he was gone. No note, no forwarding address. Just an empty apartment and a voicemail that said, "I'm sorry. I can't face this. I'll be in touch when it's safe." I never heard from him again. The business folded. I sold everything to pay the debts. I spent 2 years digging us out of the hole she'd left us in. And now she was sitting across from me, calling herself Jessica, holding my son's hand. "Frank," she said, "you seem distracted." I blinked. I was staring at her hands, her manicured nails, the engagement ring on her left finger. Derek had told me it cost $12,000. His savings, his entire savings. "Just thinking about the old days," I said. "Working with Derek's mother, raising him." She smiled again. "He's a wonderful man. You did a good job." "Thank you," I said. I looked at Derek. He was watching us with such hope in his eyes. Such blind, trusting hope. He wanted me to approve. He wanted me to love her the way he did. I couldn't tell him. Not yet. Not until I had proof. The waiter brought the check. Jessica, Elena reached for it. "Let me," she said. "Absolutely not," I said. I took the check. I paid with my credit card. I made sure to look at the name on the receipt. The name she'd given was Jessica Miller. But the credit card I saw in her purse, the one she pulled out before I stopped her, said E. Vasquez. A small detail, a single initial. Enough to confirm what I already knew. We stood up to leave. She put her hand on my arm. "This was lovely, Frank. I'm so glad we finally met." "The pleasure was all mine," I said. She didn't catch the edge in my voice. She was too busy checking her phone. Derek hugged me goodbye. "She's great, right, Dad?" "She's something," I said. He laughed. He thought I was joking. I watched them walk to her car, a black BMW. New. She opened the passenger door for him. She kissed him on the cheek. She looked back at me once, waved, and smiled. I smiled back. Then I pulled out my phone and started searching for Mark Sullivan. I drove home that night with my hands gripping the wheel at 10 and 2. The sort of grip you use when you're trying not to speed, when you're trying not to do anything stupid. I pulled into my driveway in Scottsdale at 9:47. The garage door closed behind me. I sat in the dark for a long time. My house felt too quiet. It always did since Linda passed. But that night, the silence was different. It was waiting, expectant. I walked into the kitchen and poured a glass of water. Then I picked up my phone. I hadn't called Mark Sullivan in 5 years. Not since the business collapsed. Not since he disappeared. I still had his old number. I wasn't sure it would work. It rang 4 times. I was about to hang up when a voice said, "Hello." It wasn't Mark. It was a woman, older, wary. "I'm looking for Mark Sullivan," I said. "Who's asking?" "Frank Moretti, his old business partner." A long pause. Then the phone shifted. I heard muffled voices. Then Mark came on the line. "Frank?" His voice was thinner than I remembered. Tired. "Yeah, Mark, it's me." "You shouldn't be calling this number." "I need to talk to you. It's about Elena." The silence that followed was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. "How do you know that name?" She introduced herself to me tonight as Jessica Miller. "She's engaged to my son, Mark. She's going to marry my boy." I heard him exhale. It sounded like he'd been holding that breath for years. "Frank, listen to me very carefully. You need to get your son away from her. Tonight, right now. Do you understand?" "I can't do that. Not yet. He's in love with her. He won't listen to me without proof." "Dunk!" "Proof?" He laughed. It was not a happy sound. "I have enough proof to fill a filing cabinet. She's not just a con artist, Frank. She's a predator. She targets families through their children. She finds the ones with money, the ones who trust easily, and she destroys them." I sat down at my kitchen table. The wood was cold under my hands. "Tell me everything." He told me. He started with how they met. A charity gala in Chicago. She was charming, sophisticated, a little older. She made him feel seen. She moved in after 6 months. Then the money started disappearing, small amounts at first. Things he didn't notice, then larger ones. By the time I figured it out, she'd cleaned out our joint account. $90,000. Then she convinced me to invest in a business opportunity she had. Another 60. I was a fool, Frank, a complete fool. "You weren't a fool," I said. "She's very good." She's a monster. When I confronted her, she laughed. She told me I was lucky she didn't take more. Then she disappeared. I thought I was free. But a month later, I found out she'd opened credit cards in my name, taken out a loan against my house. I had to sell everything to pay the debt. That's when I ran. Ran where? Doesn't matter. Small town. No forwarding address. I've been hiding for 5 years, Frank. 5 years. I change my phone every 6 months. I pay cash for everything. I don't exist anymore. I closed my eyes. Derek's face flashed in my mind. His trusting smile. His eagerness to please. Does she have a record? She has warrants. Arizona, Nevada, California. Fraud, identity theft, grand larceny. But she's smart. She changes her name, her appearance, her methods. She never stays in one place long enough to get caught. How do you know all this? I hired someone, a private investigator. Before I ran, he gave me a file. It's thick, Frank. More victims than you can count. Elderly couples, single fathers, young men with inheritance money. She has a type. And she's found Derek. She's found your son, and she'll take everything. Then she'll disappear and do it again. I looked at the clock on my microwave. 10:32. Somewhere in Phoenix, my son was sleeping next to a woman who planned to ruin him. I'm going to hire a PI, I said. Good. Use someone local, someone who doesn't ask questions. Do you still have that file? I burned it. I was scared, stupid. It's okay. I'll get my own. Frank, his voice cracked. Be careful. She's dangerous, not physically. She doesn't hit people. She breaks them. She breaks everything they love and leaves them to pick up the pieces. She destroyed me. She'll destroy your son. He's all I have left, Mark. I know. That's why she picked him. We talked for another 20 minutes. He gave me names, phone numbers, bank account numbers she'd used, the aliases he knew about. Jessica Miller was the 4th identity he'd discovered. When we hung up, I sat in the dark kitchen for a long time. The house was silent, but my mind was screaming. I thought about Derek at 6 years old, holding my hand at the grocery store. At 12, building a birdhouse in the garage. At 22, graduating with honors. My son, my only son. And now he was lying in bed with a woman who saw him as a bank account with legs. I called a private investigator the next morning. Bay. His name was Raymond Cole. He worked out of a small office near the airport. He took my case without blinking. I paid him $5,000 up front. Cash. You'll have something for me in 2 weeks? I asked. Sooner, he said. I've heard of this woman. She's got a reputation. Good. I want everything. Names, dates, victims. Outstanding warrants. Every alias she's ever used. He nodded. You want her stopped. I want her destroyed. He didn't flinch. He just wrote something in a small notebook. Mark's last words echoed in my head. She'll destroy your son, Frank. She destroyed me. I drove home with my hands on the wheel again. 10 and 2, trying not to speed, trying not to do anything stupid. But inside, I was already planning. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running every detail through my head. The way she held her wine glass, the way she laughed at Derek's jokes a beat too late, the way she looked at me like I was furniture. By 6 in the morning, I was dressed and on my way to Raymond Cole's office near the airport. He'd said sooner. I wanted to know what sooner meant. His office was in a strip mall between a taqueria and a tire shop. The blinds were drawn. A bell jingled when I pushed the door open. He was already there, coffee in hand, phone pressed to his ear. He waved me in without smiling. I sat in a plastic chair and waited. He grunted into the receiver a few times, then hung up. That was a contact at the Maricopa County Clerk's office, he said. Your girl's been busy. Start talking. Jessica Miller doesn't exist, never has. Driver's license, social security number, credit history, all fabricated. Whoever she really is, she built that identity from scratch about 3 years ago. That lines up with Mark's timeline, I said. She disappeared 5 years ago, took 3 years to create a new life. Raymond nodded. The real question is where she was before she became Jessica. I'm running facial recognition against outstanding warrants in 3 states. I'll have names by end of day. Which states? Arizona, Nevada, California. If she's got priors, that's where they'll be. He slid a folder across the desk. Bank records. I traced her spending for the last 18 months. She's got a pattern. I opened the folder. Pages of transactions. Rent payments, hotel charges, flights, jewelry stores. All under the Jessica Miller name, all clean on the surface. What's the pattern? She drains them slow, he said. First, she establishes trust. 6 months, a year. Then she starts suggesting investments. Then joint accounts. Then she disappears with everything liquidated. Mark said she took $90,000, then another 60. That's pocket change compared to what she's planning now. He tapped the folder. Your son's trust fund is $800,000. That's her retirement plan. I felt my jaw tighten. What about victims? Can you find them? I already have 3 names. 2 in Scottsdale, 1 in Sedona. All men in their 60s, all with adult children. She targets through the kids, meets the parents, builds a relationship. Different aliases for each one. Can I talk to them? He hesitated. One of them agreed. The others are too ashamed. But he'll talk. He handed me a slip of paper, a name, a phone number. He's expecting your call. But Frank, go slow. He's fragile. I took the paper and left. The victim's name was Henry. He lived in a retirement complex in North Scottsdale, a quiet place with cactus gardens and paved walking paths. He agreed to meet me at a coffee shop near his home. He was 72, frail. His hand shook when he picked up his cup. She called herself Rachel, he said. Met my daughter at a yoga class. They became friends. Then I became the target. Plegan. 14 months. She took me for everything. $200,000. Retirement account. Emergency fund. Everything my wife left me. I didn't interrupt. He needed to say it. She convinced me to invest in a real estate development. Showed me fake documents, fake appraisals, fake contracts. I signed everything. She was so warm, so caring. She called me every night. His voice cracked. I didn't see it until the money was gone. Did you report it? To the police. They opened a case, but she'd already disappeared. Changed her name, changed her look. They told me the chance of recovery was slim. I reached into my pocket and pulled out one of Raymond's cards. I'm building a case against her. She's using a new identity now. But I need evidence. Henry looked at the card, then at me. You're not going to let her get away with it. No, I said, I'm not. He reached into his wallet and pulled out a folded piece of paper. Bank statements, credit card applications, a woman's handwriting on a signed check. Take it, he said. I don't need it anymore. I just need to know she stopped. I took the papers and thanked him. He didn't say anything else. He just stared out the window. I called Raymond from the car. I've got a witness statement and documents. It's not enough for an arrest, but it's a pattern. It gets better, he said. I ran the facial recognition. She's got warrants, felony fraud in Arizona, identity theft in Nevada, grand larceny in California, all from before she became Jessica Miller. Real name? Elena Vasquez, born in Tucson, 45 years old, married to a man named Mark Sullivan, then divorced. He filed a restraining order, but she disappeared before the hearing. I closed my eyes. Mark's voice from the phone call came back to me. She'll destroy your son, Frank. There's more, Raymond said. She's been making calls to a number in Nevada. A shell company. I think she's already planning the exit strategy. Can you trace the calls? I can try, but I need more time. Take it. Whatever it costs. I hung up and sat in the parking lot, staring at the papers in my lap. Henry's victim statement. The bank records. The name, Elena Vasquez. I had her, but I didn't have enough for the police to act. I needed more. That evening, I called Derek. "Hey, Dad," he said, "we're at Jessica's place. Want to come over for dinner?" "That sounds great," I said. "Tell her I'll bring wine." I showed up at 7. Elena answered the door in a silk blouse, hair perfect, smile flawless. She kissed my cheek like we were old friends. "Ma!" "Frank, so good to see you again." "You too, Jessica." I handed her the bottle. I was thinking, since you two are so serious, maybe I should host an engagement party. Something small, at a venue I know. Her eyes lit up. "Really? That's so generous." "Of course," I said. "Every family needs a celebration." Derek hugged me. "Dad, that's amazing." I smiled at both of them, but I was watching her. The way her fingers tightened on the bottle. The way she glanced at Derek, then back at me, calculating. She was already planning how to use me. I needed to record her. The dinner was pleasant. She talked about her non-existent family, her fake career, her fabricated past. I played along, asked questions, complimented the pasta. And when she went to the kitchen to get dessert, I pulled out my phone. Voice memos. Recording. I got lucky. She came back, and Derek went to the bathroom. She sat down across from me. Her mask slipped, just a little. "You know, Frank," she said. "Derek talks about you all the time. He really looks up to you. He's a good kid." "He is, and I want to make sure he has everything he deserves." She leaned forward. "He mentioned the trust fund. I think it would be smart for him to access it earlier. Invest it. Grow it." I kept my face neutral. "That's a big step." "It's the smart step. I've been looking at some opportunities. Real estate, a development in Sedona. Very promising." I nodded slowly. "I'd like to see the paperwork." "Of course." Her smile was practiced. "I'll have my financial advisor send everything over." Great. Derek came back. The conversation shifted to wedding venues. She never brought up the trust fund again. But I had it, on tape. Her asking Derek to access his trust fund. Her mentioning the Sedona development. The same scam she'd run on Henry. I left at 9, shook her hand, kissed her cheek, told her I was excited for the party. In the car, I stopped the recording and listened to it. "Clear. Perfect. Once I get the money, we're gone," she said at one point, not realizing her own slip. "I've been working this too long to mess it up now." Eyed her. The next morning, I called Detective Reyes from my home office. She answered on the second ring. "Agent Reyes!" "This is Frank Moretti. We spoke last week about Elena Vasquez." "I remember. You have something new?" "I have a recording. She admitted everything. Her real name. Her plan to drain my son's trust fund." There was a pause. "Where did you record it?" "My dining room." She was pushing Derek to access his inheritance. $800,000. She talked about running somewhere warm. "That's good evidence," Reyes said, "but it's not enough for a federal arrest warrant." "Not yet." "But what is enough?" She explained. They needed to catch Elena crossing state lines with fraudulent intent, or committing fraud in federal jurisdiction, or they needed her to admit to a specific crime on a federal recording. "I can give you all three," I said. "How?" "I'm hosting their engagement party. April 20th. A venue in Scottsdale. 80 guests. She'll be walking into a trap." Reyes didn't answer right away. I heard her typing. "You want to record her at the party?" "Whoa!" "I want to record her. I want your agents there. And I want to play the other recording when the time is right." "Play it in front of 80 people?" "Under Arizona wiretap law, I'm a party to the conversation I recorded. It's admissible. And the public shaming will pressure the DOJ to prosecute." Another pause. "That's aggressive, Mr. Moretti." "She destroyed my former partner. She's targeting my son. I want her to know what it feels like to have her life pulled out from under her." Reyes was quiet for a moment. I'll need to run this up the chain. Get approval. If we agree, here's how it works. You handle the venue and the recording. We handle the arrest. No contact between us at the party. Understood? Understood! If you hear anything that suggests she's about to flee, you tell me immediately. I will. She hung up. I leaned back in my chair and looked at the file on my desk. Henry's bank statements. Mark's list of aliases. My recording. It was enough. Almost. That afternoon, I called Derek. Hey, Dad. Son, I've been thinking about the engagement party. Yeah? Jessica's been looking at venues. They're all so expensive. Don't worry about the cost. I'll pay for the whole thing. He laughed. Really? That's amazing. Where? I have a connection at a venue in Scottsdale. The Bellamy Room. It's nice, intimate, holds about 80 people. 80? That's perfect. I'll handle everything. Catering, music. You just show up and enjoy. Dad, this is great. Let me tell Jessica. I heard him call her name. A moment later, she picked up. Frank, Derek says you're paying for the party? I am. You two deserve a celebration. That's so generous of you. Her voice was warm. Grateful. Like she meant it. But I heard the calculator clicking behind every word. It's nothing. I want to support you both. Thank you. We're so excited to share this with everyone. The feeling is mutual. We chatted for a few minutes. Venue details. Menu options. The guest list. She was relaxed. Unconcerned. The con was working, and she had no idea. I ended the call and drove to Scottsdale. The Bellamy Room was a converted warehouse near Old Town. Exposed brick. String lights. A small stage at the front. The owner was an old friend named Carl. I explained what I needed. Audio equipment, I said. I want to play a recording during the party. What kind of recording? A toast, something personal. Carl nodded. He set me up with a Bluetooth system connected to the house speakers. I tested it, clear, loud. Everyone would hear it. The next 2 weeks were a performance. I attended dinners with Derek and Elena. I smiled. I asked about the wedding. I praised their plans. She glowed under the attention. She thought she had won. I had my first meeting with Reyes at a coffee shop near her office. She handed me a burner phone. Preloaded with my number. Text me the confirmation once the venue is set. It's set. April 20th, 7 p.m. The agents will be in place by 6. Plain clothes. No one will notice. What about the arrest? We wait for your signal. You play the recording. Then I come in. And if she tries to run before then? That's why you have the burner. We'll have eyes on her from now until the party. I nodded. One more thing. What? I want you to read her the charges in front of the guests. Reyes looked at me for a long moment. You want public humiliation. I want witnesses. I want her history exposed. I want everyone in that room to know what she is. She didn't argue. I'll make sure the arrest is visible. The night before the party, Derek called. Dad, Jessica's nervous. She wants everything to be perfect. Tell her not to worry. It will be. You sure you're okay with all this? You've been so supportive. Of course, son. I'm happy for you. There was a pause. Thanks, Dad. Really. Sleep well. Tomorrow is a big day. I hung up and looked at the recording device on my desk. The file was ready, cued to the exact moment. I had practiced the speech in my head a dozen times. A bore! The next evening, I arrived at the Bellamy Room at 6:15. Carl had the sound system ready. I tested it once more. Perfect. At 7, the guests began to arrive. Derek and Elena were at the front, greeting everyone. She wore a white dress. Diamonds at her throat. She looked triumphant. I walked up to her. Frank, she kissed my cheek. The venue is beautiful. I'm glad you like it. It's perfect. I smiled. This is going to be a night to remember. She laughed. I hope so. She walked away. I watched her greet another guest. Charming, warm, the predator in her natural habitat. I took my position near the stage. I checked my pocket. The burner phone, the recording device. 72 minutes and she'd be in handcuffs. She had no idea. The Bellamy room had a cathedral ceiling. Gold chandeliers, white flowers everywhere. 80 guests in their finest clothes, wine glasses clinking. Laughter bouncing off the walls. I stood near the bar and watched. Elena worked the room like a politician. She touched every arm. She laughed at every joke. She tilted her head and smiled with her eyes wide. Whoa! The mask was flawless. She believed in it. Derek glowed beside her. He held her hand like a trophy. He kept glancing at her, like he couldn't believe she was real. My son looked happy, genuinely, deeply happy. The thought sat in my chest like a stone. At 7:45, Elena took the microphone. "Thank you all for coming," she said. Her voice was warm, practiced. "Derek and I are so blessed to have you here tonight." The crowd cheered. She kissed Derek on the cheek. He beamed. "I know this is just the engagement party," she continued, "but I have to say, I already feel like you're all my family." More cheers. A woman near the front table wiped a tear. Elena raised her glass. "To family." "To family," the room echoed. I watched her drink. She caught my eye over the rim of her glass and smiled. The predator's smile. The one that said she had won. I smiled back. At 8 o'clock, I walked to the sound system. Carl had left it unlocked for me. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the Bluetooth. The recording was queued up. 3 minutes and 12 seconds. Enough to burn her whole world down. The moment had arrived. I walked to the stage. I tapped the microphone. "Excuse me," I said. "I'd like to say a few words." The room quieted. Derek smiled at me from across the room. Elena stood beside him, her arm wrapped around his waist. I cleared my throat. "First, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. This means a lot to Derek. It means a lot to me." I looked at Elena. She was still smiling. "I've always wanted my son to find someone who truly loves him. Someone who would never lie to him. Someone who wouldn't use him for money." Elena's smile tightened. "Just a fraction." "Derek," I said, "I know you trust this woman. But she's not who she says she is." The room went silent. Derek's face changed. "She's not Jessica Miller," I said. "Her real name is Elena Vasquez. She's a con artist with warrants in 3 states. She targets families through their children and drains their bank accounts." "Ja!" Derek stepped forward. "Dad, what are you doing?" I pressed play on my phone. The recording came through the speakers. Clear, every word. "You just need to get your dad to sign off on the trust fund," Elena's voice said. "Once I have access to the 800,000, we can move somewhere far away. Arizona, Alaska, I don't care. Just the 2 of us." Derek's face went white. "Please," Elena's recorded voice said. "I've done this before. It works. They never see it coming." The room was frozen. 80 people, not a single breath. I looked at Derek. His eyes were wet. He stared at Elena like he had never seen her before. Elena's mask cracked. Her face twisted. She turned to me. "You son of a bitch," she hissed. The back door opened. Detective Reyes walked in first, dressed in a navy suit. Behind her, 2 men in dark jackets with badges on their belts. They moved through the crowd like sharks. "Elena Vasquez," Reyes said, stopping in front of her. "You are under arrest for fraud, identity theft, and grand larceny across 3 states." Elena took a step back. "This is a mistake." "It's not a mistake," Reyes said. "We have your recorded confession. We have bank records. We have witness statements from your previous victims. You're done." One of the agents pulled Elena's arms behind her back. The handcuffs clicked. She looked at Derek. "Derek, please, this is all a misunderstanding." He didn't answer. He couldn't. The agent pulled her forward. She struggled. "Let go of me. I didn't do anything." Reyes took her arm. "That's what they all say." They dragged her past me. She stopped for 1 second. Her eyes locked onto mine. Pure hatred. I looked at her. I waited. Then I said what I had been waiting to say since the night of the dinner. I told you it would be a night to remember. Her face twisted. The agents pulled her through the door. The room was still silent. I turned to Derek. He was on his knees, his head in his hands, his shoulders shaking. My son. I wanted to go to him. I wanted to hold him. But I couldn't. Not yet. I had done what I had to do. The predator was gone. But the damage was done. I stood on the stage and watched the empty door where they had taken her. The chandelier still glittered. The white flowers still sat on the tables. 80 guests, 0 left. I let out a long breath. It was over. The night of the party ended in silence. The last guests had gone. The caterers were packing up in the kitchen. I stood alone on the stage, staring at the chandeliers. My son was gone. Derek had left with Mark, of all people. Mark had stayed. Mark had helped him to the car. I didn't know where they were going. I didn't ask. I drove home at 11:15. The house was dark. Linda's picture was still on the mantel. I sat in my chair and stared at the wall until the sun came up. The next morning, I got a call from Detective Reyes. She told me Elena was being held without bail. The warrants from 3 states had been consolidated. Federal charges were being filed: identity theft, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit financial fraud. The list kept growing. I listened and nodded. I thanked her. Then I hung up and called my lawyer. His name is Stephen Cole. Same last name as the PI I hired, no relation. Stephen had handled Linda's estate and my business sale. He knew everything about Derek's trust fund. I told him what happened. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "We need to restructure that trust before anyone tries to fight us." I met him at his office at 9 the next morning. He had papers spread across his desk. The trust fund was $800,000. It required my signature for early withdrawal. Elena had known that. That was why she needed me, alive and cooperative. Stephen drew up new terms. No access until Derek turned 35, unless approved by a trustee board. The board would be me, Stephen, and a third party. I signed. He signed. It was done. 2 days later, I got a call from Mark. He was in town. He wanted to meet. I agreed. We met at a diner near the airport. The same diner where we used to have coffee 30 years ago, before the business, before everything. He looked older, more tired, but there was something in his eyes I hadn't seen in 5 years. Relief. He told me he had spoken to Derek. My son had called him the night of the party. They had talked for 3 hours. Derek was angry, confused, heartbroken, but he was starting to understand. He asked me why you didn't tell him sooner, Mark said. I told him the truth. You were protecting him the only way you knew how. I didn't say anything, I just nodded. Then Mark said something I didn't expect. I want to go back into business, with you. I looked at him. You're serious? I've been hiding for 5 years, he said. I'm done hiding. You have the experience. I have the contacts. We start small. Consulting. Help other business owners avoid what happened to us. I thought about it for a long moment. Then I said yes. We spent the next month setting up the firm. Sullivan and Moretti Consulting. Office in a strip mall near my house. Cheap rent. Good location. Mark handled the books. I handled the clients. It felt right. It felt like coming home. The trial started in September. I testified for 2 days. I brought every piece of evidence, the bank records, the recordings, the witness statements from Henry and the other victims. The prosecutor played the recording of Elena admitting her real name. The jury didn't take long. Guilty on all counts. 12 years in federal prison. I watched her being led away. She didn't look at me. She kept her eyes on the floor. Good. After the trial, I filed a civil suit. It took 3 months, but we recovered $50,000 from her hidden accounts. Not much, but it was something. I put it in a new account for Derek. He didn't know about it yet. Someday he would. Derek started therapy in October. I didn't push him. I waited. I called him once a week. He always answered. We talked about the weather, his job, my new business with Mark. We never talked about Elena, not yet. But the calls kept coming. That was enough. In November, Mark and I signed the lease on our office. We bought a used desk and a coffee maker. It was humble. It was ours. The night before we opened, I sat in my chair at home. Linda's picture was still on the mantel. I looked at it. I thought about what she would have said. She would have been proud. She always believed in doing the right thing, even when it hurt. Derek still won't look me in the eye, but I know he'll understand someday. I did what I had to do. The following March, I got a postcard. It was from Derek. A picture of the Grand Canyon. On the back, he wrote 3 words, "I understand now. No return address." Just a postmark from Flagstaff. I put it on the fridge next to Linda's picture. I didn't call him. He would call me when he was ready. He always did. Spring came to Scottsdale. The heat started creeping back. I spent my mornings at the office with Mark. We had 3 clients now. Small businesses. People who needed someone to look at the numbers and tell them the truth. Mark handled the books. I handled the strategy. We worked in silence most of the time. It was comfortable. The kind of silence that happens between people who have already said everything that matters. One Tuesday, a woman walked into our office. Her name was Patricia. She was 62, recently widowed, and she wanted to start a small catering business. She had a binder full of recipes and a smile that seemed honest. I took her information. I scheduled a follow-up. I didn't shake her hand. Not yet, Mark noticed. He raised an eyebrow. I shrugged. Trust is earned, I said. Not given. He nodded. He understood. That evening I went home to my house in Scottsdale. The one Linda and I bought 20 years ago. The one with the lemon tree in the backyard. I made myself a sandwich. I sat on the patio. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink. I thought about Derek. I thought about his postcard. I understand now. Those 3 words had cost him a lot. They had cost me a lot, too. I pulled out my phone. I scrolled to my contacts. I found Derek's name. I didn't call. I texted him instead. 1 word. Coffee? 3 minutes later, he replied, Saturday. The diner by your office. I put the phone down. I finished my sandwich. I looked at the lemon tree. It was full of fruit this year. Linda used to make lemonade from those lemons. She used to say that patience was the secret ingredient. Squeeze the lemon slow. Let the juice come out on its own. Don't rush it. I thought about Elena. I didn't think about her often anymore. She was in a federal prison in West Virginia. 12 years. Detective Reyes sent me an update once a month. Elena had filed an appeal. It was denied. Her victims in Nevada and California had filed civil suits. She had nothing left to give. The offshore accounts had been seized. The money was gone, most of it anyway. I had recovered $50,000 for Derek. I had put it in a new account, a trust that required my signature and a second trustee. He didn't know about it yet. I was waiting for the right moment. Maybe Saturday. Over coffee. Saturday came. I arrived at the diner at 7,000 in the morning. I ordered black coffee. I waited. Derek walked in at 7:58. 2 minutes early. He looked thinner, older. His eyes were tired, but they were clear. He sat down across from me. We didn't talk about Elena. Not then. We talked about his job. He had gotten a promotion. Senior developer. He talked about a hiking trip he had taken to the Grand Canyon. He said it was beautiful. He said it made him feel small. In a good way. I listened. I didn't interrupt. I didn't offer advice. I just listened. When the coffee was finished, I slid an envelope across the table. What's this? He asked. Open it, I said. He opened it. Inside was a check for $50,000 and a letter from a bank explaining the trust. He looked at it. He looked at me. His hand shook a little. I don't deserve this, he said. It's not about deserving, I said. It's yours. It was always yours. I just kept it safe. He folded the check. He put it in his pocket. He didn't say thank you. He didn't have to. We stood up. He hugged me. It was the first time in a year. It was brief. It was genuine. Genuinely genuine. He walked out of the diner. I watched him go. He got into his car. He waved. I waved back. Then he drove away. I paid the bill. I walked to my car. I drove to the office. Mark was already there, drinking coffee from a paper cup. "Good morning," he said. "Good morning," I said. I sat down at my desk. I looked at the blank computer screen. I thought about Linda. I thought about Derek. I thought about the woman with the binder full of recipes. Patricia. I would call her back. I would take her case. But I would check everything. The references. The bank statements. The names. Because that was my rule now. Trust is earned, not given. And dinner reservations? I always check the name on those too. I clicked the mouse. I opened a new file. I typed Patricia's name. I wrote her phone number. I circled one thing in my mind: verify everything. The sun came through the window. The day was starting. I was ready. Thanks for listening to my story. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I've got plenty more where this came from.